But let's get into some of these excuses slash reasons on why people say it's quote unquote too hard to be healthy.
Well, one of the main things that people tell me all the time is it's just too expensive to eat healthy.
Well, and we talk about adaptogenic herbs. I like the term adaptogenic because they have the ability to adapt. In other words, they can help you be more calm, or they could help you be a little more aware of the exposure to chickenpox.
So when you have chicken pox, that virus actually gets inside the nerve root and it hangs out there. It's dormant there. And then years later, it may show up as this blistering, bubbling, painful rash that
Being healthy sometimes is met with a lot of challenges. Obviously, we hear it all the time in the clinic about, I can't be healthy because, and it's followed by some excuse. Now, I'm not minimizing the excuses. We're not doing that at all. But let's get into some of these excuses slash reasons on why people say it's quote unquote too hard to be healthy.
Well, one of the main things that people tell me all the time is it's just too expensive to eat healthy.
Well, it's not too expensive. If you look at studies, out there, and there's a lot of them, people want to just go search out PubMed. You can actually look at studies where people have, over the course of time, eaten even organic food over the course of a week and processed food over the course of the week. I'm not saying adjustment didn't have to take place, but after they settled into that, they found out that eating organically, which is more expensive, was actually less per week compared to the processed food. And it's not a theory or a hypothesis. The reason behind that is because processed food is calorically dense, nutrient absent, leaving the body more hungry. Healthy food is more nutrient dense, less calorically heavy, making the body more full, not wanting more food. So it actually is the opposite. It's cheaper to eat healthy than it is to eat expensive or to eat unhealthy.
Yeah, we actually have written a movie, or we have a movie out there called Fork Your Diet, and it takes two different people down
Watch your tongue. Sorry.
pathways, two different pathways, one who has an easier time and one who goes through, the ups and the downs and the twists and the turns that life sometimes can take them on. Now, oftentimes when a person is sitting before me and they're asking me, well, how can I possibly do this healthy lifestyle? I talk to them about how investing in their health is like investing in the bank account. When you feed this temple the right things day in and day out, it's going to add up. It's going to be a health savings. And eventually, down the way, you're going to avoid all kinds of things like high blood pressure. You're going to avoid medications, cardiovascular disease. You're going to avoid things like metabolic syndrome, obesity, type 2 diabetes, which leads to eye disease, kidney disease, heart disease, and all kinds of medications. So if you start to think about preservation of this human temple, which we can't always see with one meal, 1 week, 1 month, it's a lifelong investment in your health account to see and reap the rewards. But we come up with all kinds of excuses like, oh, well, my family just doesn't want to participate.
Well, not everybody's going to be a leader. That's the hardcore truth. Somebody's got to stop the generational madness because our world right now is going in the wrong direction. But you brought up a couple terms that are kind of financially related. I want to kind of throw a twist in it here. People understand it like this. Debt, financial debt, if you keep building it higher, that's a bad thing. But what if you had a big old pot of money over here that was built up to help you in case you had emergency? So you minimize debt and you sort of maximized assets. So it's really liability or debt versus equity, right? And so There's such a thing as wellness equity. It's called the same habits. You save that wellness equity up every day by eating well, sleeping well, de-stressing well, moving well, all the things that we're talking about. By doing that, you build up that equity, building up health resilience through wellness equity amassing, and then you minimize wellness debt, and it becomes more expensive then to live unhealthy than it does to live healthy. So the health benefits of amassing wellness equity is really what we should be about.
Yeah, well, just one hospital stay is thousands and thousands of dollars, and you can avoid it if we live a healthy lifestyle. Another excuse that I hear all the time, well, and it may not be an excuse, some people do have true physical limitations to where going to a gym or hiring a trainer just isn't always best case scenario. In that scenario, oftentimes seeing a clinician and finding a physical therapist that can help you understand how to work a joint that may be injured and put a home program in place so that you can exercise safely is a good idea. Also, there are awesome things out there like the QB, CUBII. It's a little pedal set that you can put underneath your desk. If you can't walk because your feet hurt or your knees hurt, you can sit at a desk and rotate your legs around this little QB pedal set and get blood, oxygen, and nutrients to your tissues. There's always a pool in the area where you can get into the water and you can move back and forth so that, again, you can get blood, oxygen, and nutrients to your tissues. We have to think about the system not just from a nutritional standpoint, but also from an exercise standpoint, and take away the excuses.
Movement is life. Lack of movement is rigor mortis. And I think that's a good way to look at it, right? So,
And life is in the blood.
Life is in the blood. We know that biblical principle. How do we get blood around the system? We move. And so movement is life. Without movement, we don't live. And so we need to be thinking about this and take away the excuses to say we can't be healthy. The greatest exercise you can do is walking. The greatest thing you can do is put good food in your mouth, put good information in your heart, head, and ears, and look at good and read good things. When I look at this whole idea about living healthy, it's actually pretty easy. Don't become a living, breathing, identity gathering excuse. Become a person that says, you know what? I love wellness life. I love living like that, and I have no difficulty doing it. It doesn't matter what someone else does. The greatest medical decision you make is out in your fork, but the greatest person you can affect is the person staring at you back in the mirror. If you need help with this, you reach out to us because we are lifestyle optimization and biological aging optimization experts, and we would love to help you. So here's to your best life.
Take the T off can't. You can. What is ashwagandha, and does it work?
Well, it's not a foreign country. We'll talk about it just ahead.
There's a lot of talk these days about human enhancement.
Terms like biohacking, bioharmonizing, biosynergizing, stacking, resilience, and anti-fragility.
In our clinic, the Functional Medical Institute, we've been helping people of all shapes, sizes, and backgrounds improve their quality of their physiology and maximize their lives.
So, you can follow the latest fads and gimmicks and maybe find some things that work for you.
Or you can add Kingdom Fuel to your daily regimen right now.
It's the simple start to a transformed life.
Our unique meal shakes are balanced, low glycemic, rich in fiber with 20 grams of clean protein, essential vitamins and minerals, healthy fats, and organic fruits and vegetables. Kingdom Fuel is vegan with a complete amino acid profile.
No gimmicks, just proven results.
Start today at sherwood.tv/fuel. How can boosting your daily nutrition save you money? I'm Dr. Michele Sherwood.
And I'm Dr. Mark Sherwood. Kingdom Fuel costs about a third of the average lunch and will supersize your nutrition.
Our unique meal shakes are balanced, low glycemic, rich in fiber with 20 grams of clean protein, essential vitamins and minerals, healthy fats, and organic fruits and vegetables.
Kingdom Fuel is the simple start to a transformed life.
I don't know about you, but I have to have that cup of coffee in the morning. And Kingdom Cup is mold-free, it is pesticide-free, and it is organic. It's got this flavor that is delicious. You don't even have to put cream or sweetener in it.
And it's Kingdom Cup with a K,
K.
right? So this is important. 50% of all coffee at least contains mold. And this is a key thing. That's in bean form, right? So you're going to be a little grinder. They're just a few bucks. Grind it up, put it in your maker, and make it. Why did we go with the bean form, the whole bean? Because ultimately the powder form is the one that gathers the most moisture. And that means the more potential mold development. So this is actually organic, mold-free, certified. It's got a little certificate with it. That's important because ultimately people drink coffee. It's cultural. And so we tried to meet the culture where it is and create a healthy alternative. When you hear the term ashwagandha, do you think it's a country? Do you think it's a foreign language? For those of you that have that spiritual twist, do you think I'm speaking in tongues? Ashwagandha, ashwagandha? No, actually, it's kind of a wild thing because it's an adaptogenic herb and it comes from the ground, which is a source of healing for many people because we believe that the nutrients in the ground actually provide a lot of benefits for the body. But did you know it can help you with stress and sleep and things that can really help you be calm? Ashwagandha is really an interesting herb, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And the last 4 years, probably starting in about 2020, we saw more people having issues with anxiety, stress, and sleep disorders. And this herb has been one of the ones that we have actually utilized in a lot of clinical situations to get people back on track. Now, one of the products that we use is
Ashwagandha. And just simple ashwagandha. If people wondering, it sort of comes from the Asia and Africa. It has within it these things called withanolides. Big old word, but those
Say that one more time.
Withanolides.
Tongue twister.
Withanolides, and so those things that are in there, they actually help bring calm to the system. And we talk about adaptogenic herbs. I like the term adaptogenic because they have the ability to adapt. In other words, they can help you be more calm or they could help you be a little more aware depending on what you might need.
So that's very curious. When we think about the dysfunction of stress and anxiety or insomnia, what has happened is an imbalance in this thing called the autonomic nervous system. And we tend to lean more towards the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight, run and flee, instead of being able to rest and relax. And ashwagandha, being an aid, comes to the rescue and kind of puts the teeter-totter back in balance and level.
When we talk about a pendulum swinging back and forth, that pendulum swinging back and forth, I want you to think about a swing set, that's at the top end on the apex on both sides. There's no calm there. That's where most people live. They live all wound up all the time, and they can't calm down. And over the course of time, that can wear the system down. And obviously, we've talked previously to some behavioral modification and breathing things, and people need to go back and listen to those shows again. That's important. But when we talk about bringing in natural substances, and we're not talking about antidepressants, we're not talking about things that will hurt you. We're not talking about things that can have any negative effect to speak of. We'll when we talk about some contraindications potentially. But we're talking about things that can help you bring that pendulum back into a little more calm so that you're not pinging at the end of those spectrums all the time.
Yes. Well, speaking of contraindications, of course, ashwagandha has not been well studied in pregnancy. So if you are brewing a bun in the oven or baking a baby, it's probably best not to take ashwagandha.
Did you just say bun in the oven?
Bun in the oven.
Oh my gosh, that was funny.
Brewing a baby.
Yeah.
Also, if you have hypothyroid disorders or dysfunctions, you might want to talk to your doctor before you put something like this on board. It also can interact with certain medications like blood pressure medications, seizure medications, thyroid medications, and the like. So being very educated before you just pop some ashwagandha is going to be a smart thing. Interestingly enough, ashwagandha does improve the function of the endocrine system. Like we talked about how it can aid in balancing the autonomic nervous system, ashwagandha can increase the level of certain androgens in the system, one of those being testosterone. So you may want to have your levels tested before you start ashwagandha and then 6 to 8 weeks into taking it to make sure you're not spilling that meter over the top and getting too high.
Now, before people are out there and you're going, okay, I'm going to take ashwagandha and drive my testosterone to the roof. I can hear you guys doing that right now. Hold the line a minute. So let's think through this. We don't produce good testosterone, doesn't matter who you are, when we're under a high amount of stress, because the system is too wound up. When the system is wound up like that, we're not supposed to be reproducing because we're being chased by a bear. To stop on the side of the trail and try to have sex is probably not a good idea if you're being chased by a bear. So ashwagandha does not directly make testosterone. It calms the system so that the body can create more of the testosterone. So before you start going into this cause and effect, we need to understand the relationship of both.
It's a balance. We
That's
are
right.
bringing the body in balance so that it can innately do what it is supposed to do. What is that supplement one more time?
It's called ashwagandha, and you know, people can take that during the day.
Once a day, twice a day, at night.
I've done it both.
Both.
I know people that chronically live stressed out, depending on where you are, you know, get with a clinician to help you sort of work that out. You know, like the whole system in which we live is very individualized and personalized based upon your own environment, both emotionally, spiritually, and even physically. So it can be taken during the day. It can be taken at night. It's the easy, low-hanging fruit is take it when you're most stressed out. So again, the one that we like is ashwagandha. And then certainly there's other things that we can do to help with this idea, but understanding all these herbs, all these adaptogenics is really, really important. And that's what we excel in, and that's what we study on all the time. So hope this helped you. Hope it was a little cool educational piece to know that ashwagandha is not a country. No, it's an adaptogenic herb that can help you.
Nobody wants to suffer with shingles. We're going to talk about how to avoid and remedies coming up next.
Got some great tips for you.
Our flagship product is called Kingdom Fuel. Tell us a little bit about Kingdom Fuel and why it's so good.
We saw people struggling with the idea and concept of it's too expensive to eat healthy. So we thought, okay, that's the problem. Let's find a solution. So we found a solution for $5 or under per meal, and that represented the birth of the idea of Kingdom Fuel. So Kingdom Fuel is organic pea protein. It's got greens and reds in it, so this is the phytonutrients from green plants and red plants that we all talk about. Eat your vegetables, right? It's also got vitamins and minerals in it, so it's got a complete complex of that. And it's got also soluble and insoluble fiber, which the difference between the two is profound. Soluble actually gathers moisture and makes you full, and the insoluble goes through the system and grabs things like damaged particles.
The body runs on nutrients. It doesn't run on medication. And Kingdom Fuel is a complete multivitamin and mineral.
Introducing OK Movie Stream, your ticket to a world of cinematic classics and wonders, right from the heart of Oklahoma and the surrounding areas.
The Neals are moving to Oklahoma.
Dive into a world of captivating stories and extraordinary talent, all on OK Movie Stream.
Oh yeah, I did. You see, I gave you a crazy look because I
Choose the option that suits you best. Watch for free with commercials, binge watch your favorites for 3 days, or unlock ad-free streaming for just $10 a year. Join the OK Movie Stream community today and embark on a cinematic journey like never before.
I don't know about you, but I have to have that cup of coffee in the morning. And Kingdom Cup is mold-free, it is pesticide-free, and it is organic. It's got this flavor that is delicious. You don't even have to put cream or sweetener in it.
And it's Kingdom Cup with a K,
K.
right? So this is important. 50% of all coffee at least contains mold. And this is a key thing. That's in bean form, right? So you're going to be a little grinder. They're just a few bucks. Grind it up, put it in your maker, and make it. Why did we go with the bean form, the whole bean? Because ultimately the powder form is the one that gathers the most moisture. And that means the more potential mold development. So this is actually organic, mold-free, certified. It's got a little certificate with it. That's important because ultimately people drink coffee. It's cultural. And so we tried to meet the culture where it is and create a healthy alternative.
Today's topic is shingles. How to avoid getting the shingles and how do we remedy it?
Well, I think most people, when they hear about the shingles thing, they don't understand it's tied to chicken's pox. So if you've had chicken pox, that's one area. If you haven't had chicken pox, that's one area. But this is actually a secondary thing that comes from the exposure to chicken pox.
So when you have chicken pox, that virus actually gets inside the nerve root and it hangs out there. It's dormant there. And then years later, it may show up as this blistering, bubbling, painful rash that is along what's called a dermatome. That's a line that the nerve runs in the skin. And it can be extremely painful, extremely debilitating, especially if it happens along the line of skin in the face near the eyes. It can take out the eyesight. So thinking about how we can prevent shingles is really an important thing, especially as we age. In our clinical practice, we see that individuals who are older and get shingles suffer harder and suffer longer than those that are younger. So prevention is worth a pound of cure.
It is. Quote by Ben Franklin, by the way. But the idea behind this is like, what are the triggers of it? Well, inflammation and stress. I mean, if you had to put two things that are the main triggers, that would be it, right? Can you avoid it? The answer is yes. One of the most, I think, drastic triggers of that is the inflammatory standard American Western diet. As we age, it increases inflammation, increases internal stress, therefore it increases the tendency to get the shingles. And we've seen a lot of people have it, kind of on their torso and things like that, and they're in a lot of pain. We have actually done some things to kind of ease the pain, which is a little kind of outside the box. Silver can kind of work well for that.
Silver can work well for that using curcumin,
Yep.
the omega-3s. Those things can kind of internally take inflammation down.
They can.
We've turned to peptides to help regulate the immune system. We've also used lysine. Lysine can help decrease the shedding of the viral load, which then decreases the intensity of the illness.
So that's a big deal. L-lysine, that has been used many times as sort of this kind of a therapeutic when you get infected by a virus to sort of stop or inhibit the replication potential of those viruses. Keeping in mind, you don't want something to get worse, so that's why you would take L-lysine. But if it's there, you might look at the silver, you might look at the curcumin, obviously internal omega-3s. Coconut oil can kind of work on the outside end a little bit, but these things can help that. But it's a big deal because it does become something that's quite debilitating in people's lives.
Can be, and people end up needing to reach for pain medications or other therapeutics. Now, also in terms of prevention, there are two vaccines that are available. One is Zostavax, and the other one is Shingrix.
Shingrix.
The Zostavax is a live attenuated virus, and the older you get to take a live attenuated virus into your system, the theory is there might be more of an intense breakout that could potentially happen. I haven't clinically seen that in practice, but that thought is out there. The Shingrix is actually a dead components of the vaccine, and it's delivered in 2 different shots. And for somebody who is older, somebody who may be immunocompromised, vaccination is absolutely something to consider so that it decreases the outbreak of the virus if it were to potentially happen. Oftentimes, once you've been vaccinated, the virus is not able to replicate and become active.
Yeah, and the first kind of vaccine you mentioned there is important because it's a small amount of the virus that the body's supposed to adapt to using, I figure, what God gave us, the adaptive immune system, to see it, remember it, create those antibodies that the body can adjust and perform again if it's exposed to that. So it's sort of this long-term created immunity. And so that can help, but again, it's in your system. It doesn't get out of your system, but it prevents you from getting that virus to flare up again. But one of the symptoms of that virus being in your system is the development of shingles sometimes. And the other thing we talked about, stress, I didn't mention that too much, but chronically stressed, which could be like lack of sleep, it could be immunocompromised as we age, it could be any of that stuff, can create the system where the shingles would be more likely to develop.
People often ask, can I get infected with shingles if I am exposed to somebody with the shingles? And the answer to that question is no. However, if you have not had the chicken pox, you can get the chicken pox from somebody who's actively shedding. So if you are a female that's pregnant, or you are a young individual, or even an older individual where the chicken pox can be much more detrimental to your health, you want to avoid contact with somebody who has active shingles.
Well, old school too. This is going back maybe 100 years ago. We used to have the chickenpox parties. You go there. You've got a kid that you'd call your neighbor and say, "Hey, little Johnny's got chickenpox," and all the neighborhood kids would come over and get it and get it over with. Which I suppose that's not a bad thing, because as a kid, no big deal. You're not going to die of that. But as you age, we do get a little bit more immunocompromised. So what you're saying is, you get up there to your age, like 39, or my age, like 49, something like that, right? Yeah.
Or even past the 50-yard dash line into the 60-yard dash line.
You got to be careful of this. So, be aware. We've given you some tools to kind of know what to do should you or a loved one be infected with shingles. So put all these into practice, make the best decision possible, and try to avoid that shingles mess, because it's painful.